بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأصلي وأسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. The Conquest of Makkah. Ibn al-Qayyim described the Conquest of Makkah as the greatest one by which Allah honored his religion, messengers, soldiers, and believing party. He thereby released from the disbelievers and pulled the sacred house whose guidance all people seek. It was the greatest auspicious event in heaven and on earth. It was the most significant sign of the start of a new era that was to witness the great march of Islamization and the entry of people into the fold of Islam in huge numbers. It provided an ever-shining face and a most glowing source of inspiration there to the earth. Pre-conquest events. According to the terms of the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, the Arab tribes were given the option to join either of the parties, the Muslims or Quraysh, with which they decided to enter into the treaty alliance. If any of these tribes suffer aggression, then the party to which it was called would have the right to retaliate. As a consequence, Banu Bakr joined Quraysh and Khuzaa joined the Prophet ﷺ. They thus lived in peace for some time, vitality motives stretching back to pre-Islamic period, ignited by never-ending fight of revenge, triggered fresh hostilities. Banu Bakr, without caring a bit for the provisions of the treaty, attacked Banu Khuzaa in a place called Al-Wathir in Sha'ban 88. The Quraysh helped Banu Bakr with men and arms, taking advantage of the dark night. Pressed by their enemies, the tribesmen of Khuzaa sought the holy sanctuary, but here too their lives were not spared, and contrary to all accepted traditions, no fault the chief of Banu Bakr, chasing them in the sanctified area where no blood should be shed, killed his enemies. When the aggravated party sought justice from their Muslim allies, the Prophet ﷺ, as the leader, demanded immediate remedy for not only violating the treaty but also slaying men allied to him in the sanctified area. Three demands were made. The acceptance of any of them was essential. 1. To pay blood money for the victims of Khuzaa. 2. To terminate the alliance with Banu Bakr. Or 3. Consider the truce to have been nullified. His behavior on the part of the Quraysh was clearly a breach of the Treaty of Al-Hudaybiyah and was obviously an act of hostility against the allies of the Muslims. This is Banu Khuzaa. The Quraysh immediately realized the grave situation and feared the horrible consequences appearing on the horizon. They immediately called for an emergency meeting and decided to delegate their chief Abu Sufyan to Medina for an year of the truce. They related for the house of his daughter Habiba, the Prophet's wife. But as he went to sit on the messenger's bed, she folded it up. My daughter, she said, I hardly knew if you think the bed is too good for me or that I am too good for the bed. She replied, it is the bed of Allah's Messenger, and you are an unclean polytheist. We continue reading the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ. Preparation for the attack and the impositions of news blackouts. On the daughter of At-Tabari, Allah asked his spouse Aisha 3 days prior to receiving news relating to the breaching of covenant, to make preparation peculiar to marching out for war. Abu Bakr meanwhile came in and asked Aisha what the matter was, showing surprise at the preparations being made, as it was not, as he said, the usual time for war. She replied that she had no idea. On the morning of the third day, Amr bin Salim al-Khuzai arrived in the company of 14 horsemen to brief the Prophet ﷺ on the affliction of his people and seeking the Muslims' help for retaliation. The Prophet then learned that the Quraysh had breached the covenant of Budail followed Amr, and then Abu Sufyan and the news was uncoverably informed. With the view of securing a complete news blackout concerning his military intention, the Prophet ﷺ dispatched an 80-man mission under the leadership of Abu Qatada bin Rabi'a in the direction of Edham, scheduled from Medina in Ramadan 88 in order to divert the attention of people and screen off the main target with which he was preoccupied. There was so much fear and terror everywhere that Hatib, one of the most trusted followers of the Prophet ﷺ, started to dispatch a female messenger with a letter to Makkah containing intimation of the interior attack. The Prophet received revelation informing him of Hatib's action and sent Ali al-Miqdad, Zubair and Abu Marta with the intention to go after her. They overtook the messenger, and after long search discovered the letter carefully hidden in her flocks. The Prophet summoned Hatib and asked him what had induced him to this act. He replied, "O Messenger of Allah, I have no affinity of blood with the Quraysh. There is only a kind of friendly relationship between them and myself. My family is at Makkah. And there is no one to look after it or to offer protection to it. My position stands in striking contrast to that of the refugees, whose families are secure due to their blood ties with Quraysh." I felt that since I am not ready to them, I should not for the safety of my children and their gratitude by doing some good to them. I said, I have not done this as a apostate was against Islam. I was protected only by the considerations I have just explained. Umar wanted to cut his head off as a hypocrite, but the Prophet accepted his excuse and granted him pardon. In address Umar saying he is one of those who sought in the battle of Badr. What do you know, Umar? Perhaps Allah has ruled the people of Badr and said, "Do as you please, for I have forgiven you." Umar then released him and said, "Allah and His Messenger know better." The Muslim army proceeds to Makkah. After making full preparation, the Prophet proceeded to Makkah at the head of 10,000 soldiers on the 10th of Ramadan 88. He appointed Abu Ruhum al-Ghifari to dispose the affairs of Maria during his absence. When they reached Al-Jufa, Al-Abbas bin Abi Talib and his family came to join the Prophet at Al-Abwa. The Muslims came across Abu Sufyan bin al-Harith and Abdullah bin Umayyah, the Prophet's cousins, but on account of the harm they had inflicted and their satiric language against the believers, they were not welcome. Ali ordered Abu Sufyan to go and request the Prophet ﷺ for pardon and confess his ill behavior in a manner similar to that of the brothers of Yusuf. The Prophet Joseph والسلام, قالوا تالله لك ترك الله علينا وإن كنا لخاطئين. They said, "By Allah, indeed Allah has preferred you above us, and we certainly have been sinners." That is verse 12 of 91. Abu Sufyan followed Ali's advice, to which the Prophet quoted the last word, قالوا لا تثريب عليكم اليوم يغفر الله لكم وهو أرحم الراحمين. He said, "No reproach on you this day, may Allah forgive you, and He is the most merciful of those who show mercy." Abu Sufyan recited some verses paying a generous tribute to the Prophet and professing Islam as his only religion. Adam was fasting when he began the journey, and the people were also fasting when they reached Al-Hadid. At a occasion with water between Usfan and Hudayd, he broke his fast, and the people did so. They began moving again until they reached the valley of Fatima in Al-Mar al-Zahran, where they camped for the night. The Prophet ﷺ ordered the people to light their camps fires, which amounted to 10,000 fires. Umar was put in charge of the watch. Abu Sufyan before the Prophet ﷺ. In the meantime, Abu Sufyan along with the Hakim bin Hizam and Ubayr bin Warqa, two terrible bandits, went out to survey, but they got near the camp. They met Abbas, the Prophet's uncle. He informed Abu Sufyan of the situation and advised him to accept Islam and persuade his people to surrender before Muhammad ﷺ, otherwise his head would be struck off. Under the prevailing compelling circumstances, Abu Sufyan went in the company of Abbas seeking the chance of meeting the Prophet. Muslims were furious to see Abu Sufyan and wanted to kill him on the spot. But the two men managed not without difficulties to see Allah's Messenger, who advised that they see him the following day. The Prophet addressed Abu Sufyan, saying, "Woe to you, isn't it time for you to be a witness the oneness of Allah and the prophethood of Muhammad?" Here he began to request the Prophet ﷺ in the most sincere words that testified the Prophet's generosity and mild temper, begging for pardon and forgiveness and professing wholeheartedly the new faith. On the request by Abbas, the Prophet ﷺ, in the context of the general amnesty, he proclaimed, Abu Sufyan, who had a liking for boasting special privilege, saying, "He who takes refuge in Abu Sufyan's house is safe. Whoever confines himself to his house, the inmates thereof shall be in safety, and who enters the sacred mosque is safe." The Muslim army heads for Makkah on the morning of Tuesday, 7th Ramadan AH. The Prophet left Mar al-Zahran. He ordered Al-Abbas to detain Abu Sufyan at a commanding place that could afford full view of the Muslim army preparing on its way towards Makkah, and not give him the chance to see the great and powerful soldiers of Allah. The different tribes successfully passed with their banners flown up until the last battle of the immigrant and helpers with the Prophet at the head of every armed march by Sufyan began to wonder who those people were, to which Al-Abbas told him that they were Muhammad and his companions. Abu Sufyan said that no army, however powerful, could resist those people, and addressing in Abbas, he said, "Say by Allah that the sovereignty of your brother's son has become too powerful to withstand." Al-Abbas answered, "It is rather the power of prophethood," to which the former agreed. Sa'd ibn Badr then carried the flag of the helpers. When he passed by Abu Sufyan, he said, "Today we will witness the great fight. You cannot seek sanctuary at Kaaba. Today we will witness the humiliation of Quraysh." Abu Sufyan complained about this to the Prophet who got angry and said, "No, today Al-Kaaba will be sanctified." And Quraysh honored and quickly ordered that Sa'ad should be stripped off the flag, and that it will be entrusted to his son Qais in another version to Az-Zubayr. The Quraysh prepared for the advancing Muslim army. Al-Abbas urged Abu Sufyan to hasten into Makkah and warned the Quraysh against any aggressive behavior towards the Muslims. Then in Makkah he shouted at the top of his voice and warned against any hostilities, advising them to seek safety in his house. His wife got angry and pulled hard his mustache, cursing him and abusing his cowardly attitude. The people within Makkah mocked Abu Sufyan and dispersed in different directions, some into their houses, others into the holy sanctuary, where some and displayed and uncontrolled wicked persons led by Ikrimah bin Abu Jahl, Safwan bin Umayyah, and Zuhair bin Amr encamped themselves in a place called Handama, with a murderous intent in their minds. The Prophet on his part was quite modest and calmly drawing the final touches for the military breakthrough awaited the Muslims by Allah's will. He appointed Khalid bin Walid as leader of the right flank of the army with Islam. Sulaim, Chief Sulaim, Waifar, Muzaina, and Juhina trapped under his command. When the Makkah drew its lower side, he told them that if they meet any resistance from Quraysh, they were to be detained until he reached Safa. Zubair bin Awam was to lead the left flank and will storm Makkah from upside in holding up the messenger's banner. Abu Bakr took command of the infantry and was to present into the city via Asad Valley. They were given full and decisive orders not to kill unless in self-defense. In that case, they will exterminate any aggressive element and crush any opposition. The Muslim army enters Makkah. The Muslim battalions march along the strategic route to fulfill the missions. The missions they were supposed to carry out. Khalid bin Walid worked his way into the heart of the town, quite successfully killing 12 of the wicked person and sustaining 2 martyrs. Zubair then set out to reach the fixed destination where he planted the banner at Al-Fath Conquest Mosque and waited there for the arrival of the Prophet. At night was watched for the Prophet, and when he arrived, he offered prayers of thanks to the Almighty Allah, who out of his immense grace had granted him a splendid victory. The Messenger ﷺ enters the sacred mosque and purifies it from the idols, but did not relax for a long period in the company of the helpers and immigrants. Proceeded towards Al-Kaaba, the sacred house, which is a symbol of the oneness and supremacy of Allah. was unfortunately full of idols and numbered 360. He knocked them down with his bow while reciting the verse of the noble Quran. وقل جاء الحق وزهق الباطل إن الباطل كان زهوقا. And say through that Islamic monism or this Quran or jihad against prejudice has come and battle force of the Satan of prejudice has vanished. Surely battle is ever bound to vanish. This is verse Surah 18 verse 81. And Allah Father said, قل جاء الحق وموعد الباطل وما يعيد. Say Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the truth, the Quran and Allah's revelation has come. And the battle force of the bliss can neither create anything nor resurrect anything. That's Surah 4 verse 49. He then started the usual circumambulation of his side. He was not in a state of ihram, sacred state of pilgrimage. Then, on the completion, he called for Uthman bin Talha, the key holder of Al-Kaaba, from whom he took the key. He went in and saw images of Prophet Abraham radiallahu anhu and Ismail alayhi salam. During the division arose, he announced his act of praise, and he ordered that all idols be broken into pieces, all images and effigies to be deleted. Some praise in the Kaaba and the device and addressed to Quraysh. Then, accompanied by Usama and Bilal, he entered the sacred hall to face the wall opposite the door, where he performed sincere prostration and went around acclaiming Allah's greatness and oneness. Shortly afterwards, he returned to the doorway and standing upon its elevated step, gazed in thankfulness on the huge number of people below, and delivered the following celebrated address. There is no God but Allah alone. He has no associates. He made good his promise that he held to his servant and helped him and defeated all the confident alone. Being that every claim of privilege, whether that of blood or property, is under the Mahil, that of the custody of Al-Kaaba and supplying of water to the pilgrims. Being made that for anyone who is slain, even though semi-deliberately, which with a club or whip, for him the blood money is very severe, 100 camels, 40 of them to be pregnant. يا معشر قريش إن الله قد ذهب عنكم نخوة الجاهلية وتعتميها بالآباء الناس من أدم وآدم من تراب. Of Quraysh, surely Allah has abolished from you all pride of the pre-Islamic area. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam praising the Kaaba and the river salat. Then accompanied by Usama and Bilal entered the sacred hall to face the wall. Opposite the doorway, performed sincere prostrations, went around acclaiming Allah's greatness and oneness. Shortly afterwards, he returned to the doorway and standing upon its elevated step, gazing thankfulness on the huge number of people below and delivered the following celebrated address. There is no God but Allah alone. He has no associate. He made good his promise after that he held to his servant and helped him and defeated all the confidence alone. They made that every claim of privilege, whether that of blood or property, is under my heel, head of the custody of Al-Kaaba and supplying of water to the pilgrims. Bear in mind that for anyone who is slain, even though semi-deliberately, with a club or whip, for him the blood money is very severe, 100 camels, 40 of them to be pregnant. يا معشر قريش إن الله قد ذهب عنكم نخوة الجاهلية وتعديمها بالآباء الناس من آدم وآدم من تراب. O people of Quraysh, surely Allah has abolished from you the pride of the pre-Islamic era and all people in your ancestry, because all men are descended from Adam and Adam was made out of dust. He then said them the verse, يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم إن الله عليم خبير. O man, can we have created you from male and female and made you to nations and tribes, that you may know one another? Verily the most honorable of you near Allah is that believer who was a taqwa, one of the muttaqun, as pure and righteous person who fear Allah much, abstain from all kinds of sins and evil deeds which He has forbidden, and love Allah much, perform all kinds of good deeds which He has ordained. Verily Allah is all knowing, all aware. Verse 49, that Him. إفدادر يا معشر قريش ما ترون أني فعل بكم O people of Quraysh, what do you think of the dream that I am about to quote to you? They replied, O no, brother and son of our no brother, we expect nothing but goodness from you. Upon this he said, فإني أقول لكم كما قال يوسف لأخواته لا تثريب عليكم اليوم اذهبوا أنتم طلقاء. I speak to you in the same words as Yusuf, the prophet of Joseph spoke unto his brothers, said, no reproach on you this day. That 1292 go you away. You are freed ones. As for the keeping of Al-Kaaba, it lay with Uthman bin Talha and the responsibility of supplying one of the pilgrims made with Al-Abbas anhu. Bilal anhu calls the Adhan at the Kaaba when the time for prayer approached. But Allah ascended Al-Kaaba and called for prayer. Abu Sufyan bin Harb, Atab bin Asid and Al-Harith bin Hisham were meanwhile sitting in the yard. Atab bin Asid, commander of the new institution, Bilal ascending in the Kaaba and calling for prayer, saying that Allah honored Asid for his father. Having not heard such words, the Prophet approached and, assisted by divine revelation, told them that he had learned about what they had spoken. Of Al-Harith and Atab, taken by incredible surprise, the Prophet and bore witness to the relationship of Muhammad, adding that we swear by Allah that none had been with us to inform you. The Prophet ﷺ prays a victory prayer or a prayer of gratitude. On that very day, the Prophet ﷺ entered Hani house. We worship and offered prayers of victory. Hani had sheltered two Makkah relatives of hers in her house, for which she was granted support with the Prophet ﷺ. Shedding the blood of the worst criminals, shedding blood of 9 of the worst criminals was declared lawful even under the curtains of Al-Kaaba. Some of them were later born. Abdul Uzza bin Qatar was found holding on to the sultan of the Kaaba and was killed. Abdullah bin Abu Sarah had become Muslim. Al-Imrat bin Rita felt Islam and killed some of the companions. The other man who was put to death was Mikyas bin Sahaba, was a Muslim. A helper accidentally killed his brother Hisham. Prophet had arranged the payment of blood money to him, which he had accepted. His vengeful nature, however, was not satisfied, so he killed the helper and went to Makkah as an apostate. Many who were it, and one woman singer went to death. On the other hand, every attempt was made to grant pardon to the people. Ikrimah bin Abu Jahl, who had attacked Khalid's detachment at the time of the entering to Makkah, was forgiven. To Wahshi, the mother of Hamza, the Prophet's uncle, and to Hind, who had chewed his liver, all was also extended his generous mercy. The same generous treatment was accorded to Habar, who had attacked the Prophet's daughter with a spear so grievously that she ultimately died of the fatal injuries while on her way from Makkah to Medina. Sufyan bin Umayyah accepted Islam. In the same context of nobility vehicular to Muhammad ﷺ, two chiefs of Quraysh were pardoned once they had embraced Islam. There was Sufyan bin Umayyah and Fudayla bin Umair. The latter had attempted to assassinate the Prophet ﷺ while circumambulating in the Holy Sanctuary. The Prophet's matchless tolerance and broad-mindedness as instigated by his mission as a mercy to all people converted a terrible hypocrite into a faithful devoted believer. The Prophet ﷺ addresses the people on the second day. On the second day of the Great Conquest, the Prophet ﷺ stood up and addressed the people in matters relating to the sacred status of Makkah. After obtaining Allah's praise, he proclaimed that Makkah was a holy land and would remain so till the day of judgment. No bloodshed was allowed therein. Should anyone take the liberty of fighting within the Makkah on grounds derived from the event that characterized the conquest, he should remember that it had been a license granted symbol of the Prophet ﷺ, and Majid does not go for others. In one nation, Islam said it is not allowed to uproot its shrubs or to cut its trees or to chase or disturb its game or to pick up its foreign thing except by a person who will announce that what had found publicly. Allah said, Allah's messenger, accept the lemon grass, for it is used by our governments and for our homes. The Prophet then said, accept the lemon grass. In this context, out of the spirit of revenge, the tribesmen of Quza killed a man from the Light tribe. And the Prophet was annoyed and ordered Quza to stop this pre-Islamic practice. He moreover gave the family of anyone killed the right to consider either of the two options, blood money or just retribution when the killer is killed. In one generation, a man from Yemen named Abu Shah stood and stayed. Have it written down for me, Messenger of Allah? So the Prophet said, write it for Abu Shah. The lepers feared the Prophet might stay in Makkah. After having delivered his address, the Prophet rode to a small hill Safa, not far from Al-Kaaba, turning his face towards the sacred house. Amidst a vast admiring and admiration multitude, he raised his hand in approaching to prayer to Allah. The men of Medina who had gathered around him were having fears. Allah had given him victory over his native city. He might choose us to stay here. He insisted on an explanation of their fear, and so they spoke openly. He immediately dismissed their fears and assured them that he had lived with them and will die with them, taking the pledge. Immediately after the great conquest, the Meccans come to realize that the only way to success lay in the venue of Islam. Even of Islam, they complied with the new realities and gathered to pledge loyalty to the Prophet ﷺ. The men came first pledging full obedience in all areas they can afford. Then came the women to follow the men's example to Prophet ﷺ, with the Umar bin Khattab receiving the pledge of loyalty and communicating with them. For him, Hind bint Utbah of Sufyan's wife came in the group of women disguised lest the Prophet ﷺ should recognize and account for her, having chewed the liver of Hamza radiallahu his uncle. The Prophet ﷺ accepted their allegiance on condition that they associated none with Allah, to which they immediately agreed. He added that they should not practice theft. Here Hind complained that her husband Abu Sufyan was tight-fisted. Husband interrupted, granting all his worldly permission to her. The Prophet laughed and recognized the woman. She requested him to extend his pardon to her and forgive all her previous sins. Some other conditions were imposed, including the prohibition of adultery, killing of infant, or fabricating falsehood. To all these orders, Hind replied positively, swearing that she would not have come taken out of allegiance if she had the least seed of experience to him. On returning home, she broke her idol, admitting her destruction of her stone gods. Al-Hanbali stayed in Makkah for 19 days. During that period, he taught her about Islam and guided people to pity. He ordered Abu Sayyid al-Khuzai to fix up the pillars of the sacred area, sent missions to all the quarters, invited them to adopt Islam and break down the idols still lying in the surrounding area of Makkah. And he had all of them broken. He told them, "Man kana yuminu billah wal yawmil akhir fala yadu fi baytihi sanaman illa kasarahu." The believers in Allah, the hereafter, should not leave any idol in his house without breaking it. Dispatching platoons shortly after the Great Conquest, the Prophet ﷺ began to dispatch platoons and nations aiming at eliminating the last symbols of the pre-Islamic practices. Number one, he sent Khalid bin Walid in Ramadan 88 to a spot called Nakhla, where there was a goddess called Al-Uzza, respected by the Quraysh and Kinana tribes. It had custodian from Bani Shayban. Khalid, the head of that horsemen, arrived at the spot and exterminated it. When he returned, the Prophet ﷺ asked him if he had seen anything there, to which Khalid ﷺ gave a negative answer. Here he was told that it had not been destroyed and he had to go there again and fulfill the task. He went back again, and there he saw a black woman naked with wild hair. Struck her with his sword into two parts. He returned and narrated the story of the Prophet ﷺ, who then confirmed the fulfillment of the task. But later in the night, the same man, Amr bin As who was sent on a mission to destroy another idol called Suwa, respected by Hudayl. It used to stand at a distance of 3 kilometers from Makkah. On a question posed by the doorkeeper, Amr said that he had been ordered by the Prophet to knock down the idol. The man warned that he would not be able to do it. Amr was surprised to see someone still in the wrong. Approached the idol and destroyed it. Then he broke the casket beside it, but found nothing. The man demanded Islam. Saad bin Zaid al-Shali was also sent into the same month on the same mission to Al-Mushalal to destroy an idol man respected by both the Aus and Khazraj tribes. He also a black woman naked with messy hair appeared wailing and beating on her chest. Saad immediately killed her, destroyed the idol and broke the casket and returned at the conclusion of his mission. Wallahu musta'an. For Khalid bin Walid was the head of the 350 horsemen of helpers in Mayrat and Ibn Sulaym. Was able once again in the same year attached to the locality of Bani Jadima with Bedouins to invite them to the fold of Islam. He was instructed to carry out his mission with peace and good willing. There the people were not articulate enough to communicate their intentions, so he ordered his men to kill them and take the others as captives. He even had in mind to kill the captives, but some of the companions were opposed to his plan. News of bloodshed reached the Prophet ﷺ. He was deeply grieved and raised his hands towards the heaven, uttering these words, "O Allah, I am innocent of what Khalid has done twice." Immediately sent Ali to make every possible punishment to the tribes who had been wrong. After careful inquiry, Ali paid the blood money to all those who suffered loss. The remaining portion also distributed amongst the members of the tribe in order to alleviate their suffering. Khalid, due to his unreasonable behavior, had disputed with Abdurrahman bin Auf. Hearing this, the Prophet got angry and ordered Khalid to stop the dispute, adding that his companions, meaning Abdurrahman bin Auf, were too high in rank to be involved in such arguments. This is the story of the conquest of Makkah and the decisive battle that exterminated paganism once and for all. The tribes in the Arabian Peninsula were waiting and closely watching the final outcome of the bitter struggle between the Muslims and the idolaters. already convinced that the holy sanctuary would not fall but in the hands of this righteous party. It had been a conviction deeply established in their minds ever since the elephant army of Abraham al-Ashram advanced from Yemen intending to destroy the sacred house 50 years before. The death of Libya was the natural prelude to this great victory in which people believed deeply and over which people talked a lot. The Muslims in Makkah who feared to declare their faith in public began to appear and work industriously for this new approach of life. People began to convert to Islam in very large numbers, and the Muslim army that numbered only 3,000 in the previous battles now come to reach 10,000 in number. In fact, this received probably with the keen insight to perceive things and world around them as a whole in a different perspective. The Muslims were then to control all the political and religious affairs in Arabia. They had monopolized both the religious supremacy and worldly power. The world post to the Libya phase had been well furnished in favor of the new Islamic movement. Streams of desert Bedouins began to pour in, paying full homage to Allah's Messenger, embracing the new faith and then carrying it to different quarters for propagation. The third stage and the last stage of the life of the Messenger of Allah embraced the fruitful result of his call to Islam, which was a result of a long period of struggles in the way of Allah, jihad, rebel struggles, disturbance trials, and many bloody conflicted battles which lasted for over 20 years. The conquest of Makkah was considered the most serious advantage achieved by Muslims during those years, for it affected the course of events and consequently altered the Arabs' world life. It was a decisive decision between pre-conquest and post-conquest periods. For the tribe of the Quraysh at that time were in the eyes of Arabs the defenders and helpers of Arabs, and Arabs are only their subordinates. The submission of the Quraysh is therefore estimated to be a final elimination of paganism in the Arabian Peninsula. This stage can be divided into main phases of struggles and fighting to the tribes and the people's race to embrace Islam. Being so close and rather is inseparable, the two phases of the stage intervene in such a way that an event of one phase occurs during the progress of the other.